Heyo, what's going on, everyone? Hey, I'm back, baby. What's up? Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing? I'm back to ZBrush Live, and just let me know if the music's too loud. Maybe it is. Maybe I just lower this a little bit. Let me see. Just go down a little bit. There you go. Is it better? How's the music? How's the sound? Can you guys hear me loud and clear? Do you copy? Hello. What up, what up, what up, Matthew? What up, Rithi? Steamworks, TC, what's up? I'm good. Hey, welcome. So, welcome to ZBrush Live. Welcome to Building Worlds. And my name is Rodolfo Silva, and I'm an expert ZBrush trainer here at Maxon. And I've been out for a while, let's be honest, right? So, last time I streamed, I was here with Ian on Ian's stream, and I started scheduling my streams, but to be honest, been rather crazy here with all the ZBrush for iPad hype and all of that stuff. I cannot speak on that, but obviously we're working hard to do the work and to provide the best possible software and continue the digital sculpting revolution that we've been doing for the last, I don't know, like couple of decades. So yeah, it's been hectic, but here I am, right? So I wanted to go through and start, and this is what we'll be doing today. Let me just change my screen real quick. And first and foremost, let me just start with some housekeeping over here. Let me just change my screen to ZBrush Live. There we go. So to start off, again, we have a package with Maxon 1 and Substance Painter 3D. Substance 3D, so it includes Substance Painter and Substance Designer. If you guys are interested in that, you can go over there and sign up. It's cheaper to buy them together than separately. And obviously now we have ZBrush Central, and well, we had ZBrush Central for decades as well, but you know what I mean. We have ZBrush Central with the staff picks. So if you want to be included with that, it's a weekly thing. So every week, the ZBrush staff, which has been growing consistently for the last few months, and we pick a lot of, like, we nominate a lot of the artwork that we see here, and at the end of the week we vote on the nominations, and the best one, not the best one, the one that eventually more people liked within the ZBrush team gets picked to be featured on the staff picks. Obviously we have top row as well, so if you don't want to miss that out, just be sure to post on ZBrush Central. ZBrush Central is a forum in essence, right? It is not just a portfolio showcase thing. So obviously for me, in my own, I would wish to see a lot more people posting work in progress shots and work in progress of whatever they're doing in ZBrush on ZBrush Central, because I feel that's also where a lot of the discussion gets started on how did you do this, how did you do that, how did you come up with this or that, did you make an IMM for this, or did you know, and then he gets that conversation going. And obviously a lot of users, new users, like to look at artwork but then sort of try to understand how it was built, right? So this is again what I wanted to mention. Just be sure to post on ZBrush Central and plus whatever other social that you post, but do not neglect ZBrush Central. ZBrush Central is a huge platform, has a lot of traffic, so yeah, just post there. And obviously we have ZBrush for iPad that's coming out any day now, and if you guys want to sign up, just sign up for the newsletter. You'll be notified when it releases. And we have this website over here. You can just check out ZBrushForIPad.com to see the latest news and check out what is possible within the amazing app that is ZBrush now on the iPad. So, and now I want to talk about Z Classroom. If you're new to ZBrush, just go over to Z Classroom. You have an amazing Getting Started series with Anna Carolina that goes through the basics of ZBrush and how to get you started right away and start digital sculpting, right? So if you want to check these out, these are very easy to understand, very straightforward, step by step. It'll get you started within ZBrush. And then also we have Cineversity, which includes tutorials from all Maxon 1, all across Maxon 1, including Maxon Studio, which we just released, Cinema 4D Particles. We have the whole like overview series, which is 1.5 hours just checking out Cinema 4D Particles. It's awesome. Like we have Red Giant, we also have some ZBrush obviously, but I would say just go and check that out if you're interested. Coolio. So what are we going to do today? We are going to build environments because that's what I do. All right, let me just check out the chat before I get started. Can't wait for ZBrush for iPad. Yeah, me too, man. So yeah, that's gonna be amazing, and trust me. Can you share the link for ZBrush and Substance package again? Yeah, sure. So go to what? Let me see. There you go. Go to maxon.net. I can share it on chat actually. Let me just share that. And whoops, a daisy. Just make sure I copy this right. The struggles of having 3 different keyboard settings. There we go. Yeah, that's the link. If you want to get both packages, just be sure to follow that link and you'll see everything you need to see on that page, which is this one. And there we go. Yeah, cool. So I wanted to showcase a few things that I've been working on. Obviously, a lot of the stuff that I've been working on has been well, I don't just sculpt all day, unfortunately, but you know, whenever I can do a lot of sculpting as well for my own pieces and my own personal projects. So last time when I was streaming with Ian, I showcased a piece that is made of trim sheets and tilable textures, and I wanted to go through what is possible with that kind of workflow. If you haven't checked out that stream, be sure to check it out. It's on YouTube. You just go to the live section and then just go scroll down until you find like my stream with Ian, the co-stream. And basically what it does is that you make your own trim sheet starting. You know, you start off with your trim sheets and tilable textures, and then you just basically apply the UVs on top of a very, very basic low polygon mesh. This is obviously super high poly, but it's high poly because I already had a few things here, but I'm gonna show you guys what I mean. So if I go down over here, I think this is the original mesh. So if you look at it, it is technically like super low poly, right? It has a texture applied to it, some UVs overlaid on top of the trim sheet, and the trim sheet is basically this one. Oh my god, my naming conventions are just wonderful. Love it. So yeah, this is the trim sheet, right? So we have this trim sheet. Obviously there's some poly paint over here just to bake in color IDs and then eventually get some variation as we texture this in Substance. So, and then what I do is when I finish up basically baking this and doing all the texturing work that you guys do, like usually, right? When you bake something, we get a flat texture or a set of flat textures, right? And as we do that, then what we do is we make our models and then lay the UVs on top of the trim sheet. So it's the opposite way. There's 2 types of workflows in game art, which is texturing first, then low poly with your UVs on top, and then texturing again, basically, and then engine. And the most basic one, which would be if you're doing unique textures. And for unique textures, obviously you just model the high poly, retopologize UVs, and then bake, right? So, but this is the trim sheet. The other trim sheet I showcased when I was streaming with Ian is this one, I think. Yeah, it's this one. Let me just light boolean this. This is the other. Oh wow, okay. What the heck happened here? Yep, this one got ruined. There used to be a series of bricks here. For some reason, they disappear. Doesn't matter. This is a brick wall over here, but this is basically the trim sheet. And then obviously you get the workflow, and the workflow would be you have a very, very basic model set, sort of like this, right? With UVs already laid out. So if I go over here to my texture map and I plug in, I don't know, let me just say, let me just plug in something like this checker box. And you can see we have like the UVs, and there's some distortion here and there, but it's not, you know, absolutely atrocious. So having that said means that if I create a new texture, and I always need a new texture, and I want to displace this based on either a tiling texture or a trim sheet, the workflow is as follows. You go up, you have to divide this. Obviously, this is like too low poly, right? So if we go over here to geometry, and without smooth, we just divide a bunch of times until we get like 160K or something, and then turn on smooth, because we don't want that harsh, like ugly edge over there. We can smooth it out a little bit, but not too much. Careful with that. And then, because it doesn't change the UVs, so if you smooth too much, then you still get that distortion of UV. So divide again, you get 2 million polygons, then delete lower. And now as I go down here to displacement map, I have to import. When I bake my textures, I always bake the displacement map as a separate grayscale 16-bit PNG, all right? Separate grayscale texture that I could use in ZBrush. And obviously you need to flip it, or there's a button in ZBrush that allows you to flip. So if we go over here, let me see, we go to source images, we go to tile levels. I think it's around here somewhere. But where, you might ask? Where is it? Oh wow, did I lose it? Maybe I did. I did lose the chairs or whatever. Oh, there it is, the stairs. There you go. So this is a displacement PSD, so we can come over here, and actually we would need to open this up. I think this is flipped. Yep. So if I bring this in and then I raise the intensity, this is what you're going to get. Basically, you have your tileable textures that you sculpt on the side, and we're gonna do that for like the rocks, the cave kind of walls and stuff. Like I made a modular kit for that as well, and we're gonna create that texture from scratch. It's organic, so it would be fun and chill to just sculpt something like that and then bake that in Substance. So if we come over here, I usually go 0.05 or up until 0.1, no more than 0.1. So if you click on mode, it's going to show you or preview that displacement, and this is clearly perfect and what I want. I'm sorry, no it isn't. I want to do 0.05, and this should be actually that's too much. 0.01. Let's try this. 0.01. There we go. And you can see this is not enough, so probably 0.025. Let's try this. Maybe a little bit more, maybe 0.03. And there we go. And then obviously this is related to how you project your UVs. So if you're making a texture that's seen from the top down, which usually stairs wouldn't be, there would be like 45 degrees, then obviously you need to project your UVs from the top. So it will displace like that, right? It's gonna move up and down from here. So then if we apply that displacement map, we get a super high poly displaced staircase thingy. It's not really that great. It is too displaced, but whatever. So we get this, but you're like, okay, but this is 2 million. How is this potentially game ready, if at all, right? Let me just import that texture just for the sake of that. Let me see. Stairs, BC. I don't think this will work because it's not flipped, so it doesn't match. Yeah, if it was flipped, I would flip this for sure. Yeah, if it was flipped, it would match for sure. Let me just flip this around again. Yeah, if I flip, it's gonna give me, let me do 0.025. Yeah, something like that, maybe a little less. And now I want to bring in that texture. The cobblestones, nope, I don't want that. I want the stairs. Then there we go. It still doesn't match. We had to, but this is your final model. Let's say we have this particular shape that we want. It's just easier to do that like low poly, right? And then just apply this workflow instead of sculpting everything by hand, baking and whatever. And also you have to keep in mind, if you're doing game art, you have performance is a big thing in environment art, right? So you have to keep in mind that, if you can reuse the same texture over and over and over again, that's better. And then you can make this with a variation by clipping other meshes and stuff. Right, so we have this, and now what I want to do is I want to go to Z plugin, and I want to keep UVs within my go to Decimation Master and then click this Keep UVs button. And this doesn't matter for now, let's just pre-process this. It's going to analyze the mesh. It's going to store the version of that mesh in cache. And then as I decimate, it's going to retain all the UVs, which means the texture still applies. And this is just a trim sheet, basically, or a tiling texture. So you can just do this with anything. And I did this with the textures that I was doing for that other project. And I'm going to showcase that real quick in a bit. Hey, Salome, how you doing? Hi, Ordin. I'm trying not to butcher names. Lord Emmanuel. Yeah. It's nice to be back, guys. It is nice. So let me just, now that it's done, I can just type in the poly count that I want, like let's say 50K. This is a little high, but decimate, and there you go. Now I need to turn on quick transform, quick 3D edit under transform, because it turned it off when it displaced the mesh. And you can see this is triangulated. It still has that texture and that detail. Maybe this is a little too much. If I check the actual polygons on this for a game environment, this would be total polys 50,000 for staircase. That's not optimal. So maybe I want to change this to like 25K and just click decimate. You don't need to pre-process again. This is better. It is 25,000 polygons, and this is actually very big staircase, so that's fine. It's 50K. Might be LOD 0, and then you can create your LODs. But this is the basic workflow that I do when I'm doing oh, is my voice low? Can you guys hear me all right? Or I can raise it up here in OBS. If yeah, maybe because I need to point my mic. There we go. Point it like that. Is it better? Yeah. All right. So this is just a basic workflow that I basically use for all my modular pieces, anything that's using or reusing textures. So the same thing goes for this little piece over here that I made, which is a demo that I did with a part of that trim sheet. So just to be clear, let me open up the substance file. Uh-oh. Am I back? I am back. There you go. Am I back? Hello? Yes. There you go. Voice is okay. Can hear you nice and clear. I don't know. I mean, sometimes when I open Substance, this happens, but you have to keep in mind I have like a ton of software open at the same time. So if I open up, let me just open up this project real quick. Trims texturing. I think this is it. Hope it doesn't crash again. There we go. So these are the tilables that I made for now and for this project, right? So these are bakes from ZBrush to Substance, right? So then you bake it into a plane, and these are technically your flat textures, right? But obviously then we have that juicy, well, not here, under mesh maps, we have that juicy height map over there. And this is what I'm using when I create that displacement within ZBrush, right? So if you look at this, there's obviously two trim sheets and a tilable texture, and the trim sheets are tilable from side to side. You could do it up and down, doesn't matter. And obviously then we have some patterns here, and you can see this pattern over here. This is where I laid the UVs of that architectural piece, this architectural piece. This is not the final version of the texture, the base color, but that doesn't matter. All we want is the UVs to sort of match your displacement, right? And then this is just a flat plane, or used to be a flat plane, and then it's displaced, and this is the end result. Obviously, this is just a single mesh. You'd have to combine this with other pieces of, like, I don't know, like weird Gothic archway or whatever. This isn't Gothic. This is a half circle curve, so it's not Gothic, but you know what I mean. So you could combine a bunch of meshes with different parts of the trim sheet and then just displace them. Same idea and same workflow with this, which is what I was going to show. And that is the size of an average player. It's not precise, you know, super precise, but it is sort of like 1 meter and 80 centimeters. So it's kind of like the average person size. So, and then I did the same thing. So you can see like this mesh over here is like super basic. Here I'm not using any, this isn't a texture I sculpted. We're gonna sculpt that live, if you guys don't mind. So we're gonna sculpt a pattern like this because I wanted to showcase this today, and I still haven't done the rock kind of mortar pattern, right, for this piece or these pieces, because that piece over there is also gonna have that texture. This is obviously some cobblestone, which is also not textured. Well, it is textured by me, but it's using Megascan. I don't know what's going on, guys. I'm always, you know, freezing. My camera freezes sometimes. Let me just close this real quick. Give me a second. Closing a bunch of software just to see if this fixes it. And I can close Substance again just to see if we don't get any more hiccups. Just super annoying. This happens all the time. Yeah, see, like, I had a bunch of software opened up. We don't need Cinema 4D for now, and we don't need Photoshop, and you can see the textures that I was doing. I basically was just flipping a bunch of like type maps, so it could be used within ZBrush. I don't need to save that, and then you just displace the modular pieces, right? And then I think we're good to go. There's not a lot of, there we go. All right, so let's hope this doesn't crash again, or freeze anytime soon, because that's annoying. So this little block over here, this is gonna be a brazier, like this thing over here that has fire in it and it burns, you know, that's it. And then we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna showcase a few things that I use all the time when I'm doing uniques. This is a unique model per se. So those pieces, this is like concept art from various different, you know, games and IPs, and obviously real pictures, and then miniatures, and then a bunch of reference for mood. Obviously you guys know what this is. This is one of my favorite games. So, and we have a bunch of like already sculpted rocks to see patterns. We have shapes for shape design. This is like Doom, Diablo, and Jedi Survivor, and this is actually Fallen Order. But you know, like patterns and shapes to see and try to figure out how am I gonna actually sculpt this, right? So I have this idea of having that obelisk. This is where I got my idea from, getting that skeleton kind of statue thingy that I don't think I really like it that much now, looking back at it. That's the risk when you take too long to make something. You go back to it and you're like, oh, I don't like this anymore. So what we're gonna do is sort of something like this, right? So it's gonna be this kind of shaped kind of thing with some organic sculpting over there that's kind of hard surface, and then have like the bottom of that. So to optimize UV space, what I usually do is, first thing I do is actually come over here to array mesh and just lock my position immediately. And why do I do this? If I go to transpose, press Y, it locks my pivot over there, which means that if I move my object, my pivot stays there. And this is important because when I do the legs of whatever I'm doing, you could be doing a table, chair, whatever it is that has like repeating patterns, or a wheel, like a cartwheel, then you have to keep your pivot in the center and then just bake one if you want to optimize UV space, right? then you'd get obviously that repetition and all that, but let's just keep it simple. So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over here to my gizmo, and the first thing I usually start with this gizmo primitives, right? And the gizmo primitives allow me with these cones to change the shape real quick of whatever I want. Let me just go 2 and then rotate it 90 degrees. See if that matches sort of the size. I know this is the correct size in Unreal because I had my grid set to Unreal, and now when I imported this into ZBrush from my modular kit making workflow thing, I know this is the correct size of everything in Unreal. So this would be sort of like this. Obviously, then you need to take into account textile density, right? So you're looking at the size of the model and imagining what this would look like when it's unwrapped. So obviously then we can just duplicate this and go over here, go to maybe Polycube. Let's just shape this over here and move this out. And here's the cool thing, since I'm moving this out, you can still see if I move the entire thing, even with 2 meshes, the gizmo is still there, the pivot, I mean. So there we go. And now as we have this, I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm gonna make a different shape. Maybe I want to go sphere 3D. This is gonna be my sort of like ornamental head thingy. So I could come over here, let me just go like that, and then just use my knife. Let me just save this real quick. Hello, we can hear you nice and clear. Yeah, let's hope it doesn't freeze anymore. This has been happening for a while. I don't know what is going on. Might be the camera. I need to check that. Sometimes that happens, but I mean on stream is always, you know, not ideal. So, and guys, feel free, if you have any questions, just ask away while I'm here. You know, we're gonna do a quick one today. It's gonna be, maybe we can go till like 7:30 my time, just German time, like CET. Maybe an hour more or something, so I can showcase this, right? So I can come over here. Let me just go ahead and use my knife curve brush, and then just start slicing. Can go like that. There we go. And then we know this is gonna get eventually sculpted on, so it doesn't matter. And again, looking at our reference, we have sort of like the feet might be a little different. So then I can come over here with ZModeler. Maybe I want to do this now, which means that I can inset flat island and then come over here and do this, and it's not working. Because it's hidden. There we go. Inset flat island. I want to polygroup this. Polygroup, polyloop. There we go. And or I could just delete these and then just use dynamic thickness, right? So I can actually split this entire mesh. Geometry, modify topology. Not modify topology, I'm sorry. Go to subtool, split hidden. Now that's a separate subtool. And so for this, what I want to do is I want to go over here. I have custom menu that's not working. I have to go to preferences, config, restore custom UI. There you go. So now I have this, which is like my custom UI thingy. And I can come over here. Whoa, my face is covered. There we go. So I can come over here to what was I doing? Oh, there you go. To dynamic. Oops. And before that, obviously delete hidden. Geometry, modify topology, delete hidden. Go to dynamic subdivision, turn it on, and you want to turn on thickness. Whoa, that's too much. This might be tiny though. We'll see. too tiny. You can always scale everything at the end. So there we go. And now that we have this, we want to do this not post subdivision. So then we can sculpt on that nicely. And this will be our bowl brazier bowl thing. So let's try this. We add a few segments over there. This could be less, rather less. And then obviously this could be shaped differently. Let me just go to polygroups, auto groups, and this could be shaped differently. So let me go like that. Get that center and use my bend curve and shape that to be what the hell is going on. There we go. Come over here. Actually, let me create a visibility set for this because it's confusing to have everything on screen at once. So let's go visibility set. I want this one, I want the human guy thing. Easy, there he is. And that is basically it. We're going to sculpt some stairs as well. And let's just see if I can change this resolution here real quick. And then obviously we can move this anyway. So it'd be something like this. We can twist it. We don't want to twist it. It'd be something like that. And then add another point. It'd be something like this. I want to try dynamic subdivision. And then obviously we can go and play around with more deformers. Oh, it's covering my voice. Okay. Why is the music so loud though? It's not supposed to be. Let me see. Maybe I am speaking too low. I mean, this is a different mic, so. How about now? Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me properly? Nope. Yes, maybe. Okay, carrying on. So, as I was saying, deformers, taper deformer, which would allow me to do something like this, and then change the exponent of that. And then I can come over here under crease, geometry crease, and go increase by tolerance, crease 45 degrees. Yeah, thank you for the heads up. And then just up this smooth button, lower the crease level, and this would be something like that. And obviously then we can start dynameshing. We could have dynameshed already, but I actually don't want this to influence like the sides. I don't want to influence the sides. There we go. But I want this to go a little crazy. There we go. I can remove this and now I can start sculpting. So let's say, I don't know, let me do some trim dynamic over here. Let's do some symmetry and local symmetry without dynamic on. And the symmetry should be on Z. There we go. Now I can start going a little crazy. Let's go and do some Sculptress Pro over here. This is actually with this dynamic subdivisions. So let's actually apply this. Apply dynamic subdivisions, delete lower. Actually, I don't want that many. Delete higher, delete lower. And now I can dynamesh with groups on. And let's project no blur, maybe a little bit. Maybe I can go 1. And let's see. Wow, this is incredibly high. Yeah, this scene is too small. Yep, it is too small. There we go. Alright, so now we can come over here. Whoa, why is this not groups? Blur to 1, project, dynamesh. There we go. Yeah, So now we have this, and we can start sculpting, right? So what I usually do is I go over here with a clip curve brush, and I start, you know, clipping. So go over here, start clipping that, and I want to shape this. So let me just use my move brush actually first. It's actually super tiny scene. I don't know why that didn't import correctly. It should have. Let's see, intensity up to 100. I can actually move this. We do move infinite depth. That might be better. I'm trying to see if I can just shape this a little better. Let me do move topological. Just push this in, sort of like that. And then obviously we'd want go masking, so start sculpting. We have some models that we could have used for this. I had made a few skulls that I never used, but I mean, we could sculpt it from scratch. So you guys can see what I am doing. And let's see how this fades into that shape. You can come over here and turn on AccuCurve. I'm going to brush, curve, AccuCurve, just to make sure this is pointy in terms of its shape. So we can try to move every single little piece of this. Trying to create some pinches over there. Obviously this isn't, it should be thinner, kind of like that. I don't know, I'm just, you know, doing stuff as I go. You see this makes no sense. Read Dynamesh. Let's go trim dynamic. That shape should be construed first. That basic shape. Move topological. Well, I'm just messing around, just trying to create some ornamental detail that could be used for this. I mean, I could actually have this. Whoops. Come on. Keyboard is set to. There we go. I could just use this. It's going to be a torch thing. What do you call that? Since I got here a little late. No, you're fine. I mean, we had some freezes and some crashes, so you're fine. You know, just your regular day-to-day streaming. So you could easily go like that, or maybe click this, go to the center and rotate it. Maybe do the opposite thing. Have this be like your support of that thing, right? I'm not sure I like this. I actually prefer this thing over here, and then you could actually, you know, trim this. So I don't know, I'm just exploring shapes, exploring forms, and usually I would do this could take a while because I'm not a concept artist, right? So to me it's this is harder. This is the hardest part of the process. When it comes to the technical stuff, that's me, man. That's what I like to do. So, oh wow, okay, something went terribly wrong over there. Yeah, there it is. We can start pushing this up like that. So this is, I mean, I'm supposed to just sketch this out and then show you guys what I mean when I say that you guys should just create one little leg and then just basically repeat it with array mesh and then just bake one, basically, right? So you'd have your low poly. Your low poly would be just one leg, and then your high poly would be all the legs. And this is a question that came up with some of my students. They eventually get it, but it takes a while for you to understand what I mean when I say bake just one of something that is repeated, even if you're making a unique model, and then just duplicate the low poly. I'm trying to make this, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Number one, I'm not a concept artist. Number two, I'm not an organic artist. Well, I am, but not a creature kind of, you know, artist. So this should be something I would have to get some more reference for, which I'm not. Let's see. No, this is not going to be a displacement workflow. This is going to be baked, right? So this means that if you're doing unique, you're not using displacement maps, you're not using trim sheets, you're not using anything of the sort. You're just baking. You're just sculpting something super high poly and then baking it to a low poly with UVs and use that as it is, right? What I'm saying is you don't need to make all of the legs for this piece. So let's say this is a finished sculpt, which it isn't by any stretch of the imagination, but let's say it is. If I look at the pivot, it's still in that dead center because I locked position on my array mesh before I even split this as a separate subtool, right? So it inherits anything that's under this tool palette. It gets inherited every time you just split that into a separate subtool, right? So as you do this, if I decide, okay, I want 3 legs and I want 3 repetitions, right? Then go to rotate, and I want to rotate this to 360. I would get this, right? So this is, you would essentially have this as your high poly, and then when you retopologize one of these, you just bake one, because then you only have one set of UVs instead of 3, right? Let's imagine you have a ton of them. Let's imagine, oh, I don't know, this is crazy. It looks like modern art or something. So if I want to do, I don't know, like maybe 8, we have like 8 thingies over here, right? I don't like the fact that this is, you know, over there. So I want to sculpt that out. There we go. Yeah, it'd be something like that. So as you're doing this, you only need one for your low poly, and every single one needs to be there for your high poly, because then again, it will get some of that ambient occlusion and stuff on this mesh over here, right? Hey, Victor, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm back. It's been crazy, man. I haven't had that much time to stream, to be honest. And actually, the issue is that I'm just developing this environment for so long. It's just ZBrush Live is a good opportunity for me to actually power through this, but it also is slower than I'm used to. I'm used to doing environments like super fast. If I go super slow, it's a struggle for me to keep up with the idea, to keep the idea fresh in my mind, right? So this idea already changed at least, I don't know, 10 times the concept of the environment, you know. So that's you know, I heard from a few artist friends of mine that that's, you know, normal. Basically, all artists face that. You know, they want to do a specific concept, and if it takes too long, they might change their mind midway through and change a bunch of times, right? So yeah, so this would be like the main idea. So then obviously you'd want something. So if this is a full-on, it's going to be part of that piece. Maybe I want that to be visible just for the sake of I need to see the context upon which this is going to be fit in, right? So let's say 2 of these or 3 of these are actually going to be a little different. They're going to be shaped in a way that they're going to grab this, or they're going to grab that bridge over there. Let me just get that bridge. Where is the bridge? Staircase, that's a different story. Where is the bridge? Wow, did I lose the bridge? Archmate, there you go. Yeah, this is the bridge itself. Then you have this on top. This is too much displacement. It's just a crazy. That's not the final texture anyway. That's why the displacement is a little crazy. It shouldn't though. And then you get the side trim, and then you get the trim decimated. Actually, I think that's best because it has the shape. And we should have the cover somewhere. These are not organized at all. Yeah, there it is. That's the cover. So I could shape this object to be sort of, you know, to match that. But then obviously you have to keep in mind that you want to make this as generic as possible if you plan on having multiple of these. I plan on having one in the middle of each one of these pieces, and then obviously one in the corners, and then eventually as you go up the environment, there's a tilted one, there's a slanted version of that. That version is going to go up until like the main door where the main kind of statues are and all of that, right? So then you're going to repeat this all over the environment. You're just going to copy paste within the environment, within your game engine, or, you know, DCC of choice, right? So as you do this, we want to start shaping this generically and then maybe make a variation out of it. So to do that, I'm just gonna redynamesh again, and actually I wanna go to my visibility set, and now I wanna go move infinite depth, and I wanna shape this in a way, and I wanna go a little bit more organic. Whoops, it's already tilted. The scene is just too small. So I can come over here, start sculpting. Whoops, I might just go move. I might need to change this when we're off stream because the scale is just not right. When it imported, for some reason, it didn't import the correct kind of scale. So I'm just ideating go. Let's inflate this just to make sure that Dynamesh doesn't go crazy on me. We could also just go over it with Sculptris Pro and just make sure this is properly, you know, closed. Remove that little geometry over there. We can mirror this anyway, just mirror that. Mirror the opposite way. Wow, that's crazy. It's mirrored in the Z-axis actually. Let's do dynamic and try mirroring that way. There we go. And just smooth that out. And now as we have this, I'm gonna clip that. Dynamesh. Now I'm gonna go and start shaping up that form. Come on. Trying to look at that silhouette over there. So I would want something like that. And maybe I want that shape over there. I want that to connect down there. We can have this as separate pieces later on, but the idea would be something like that, and then just sculpt. I should have done this with move infinite depth, but it's fine. It doesn't matter. Whoops. So you can let me go trim dynamic. Trim dynamic's a little faster. So we could come over here. Whoa, that was crazy. Okay. I guess ZBrush is against me today. It's been like this the whole day. Sometimes, you know, ZBrush needs its rest as well. Sometimes it needs. It's kind of like a person. You need to give it an excuse sometimes. So we're gonna go. I don't know what the heck I'm doing when it comes to this shape. Might need to use some different concept art because that's not that clear. Just change this. Smooth that out. Now weld that together. There we go. Turning off Sculptris Pro for a second. Eventually I wanna tapping alts as you go. Yeah, usually you'd go for like, I'm gonna exemplify this in something a little simpler so we don't waste a lot of time with this. Again, as I told you, I don't plan on going like overboard with this stream, but let me just duplicate this and I'm gonna change this to like a very basic, come on. I'm gonna change this to a very basic cube, and I don't want any subdivisions for now. And I can come down like that, like that. Maybe I want to go a little higher, and then change this size over there, rotate it. And again, it's still inherited the pivot, right? So the pivot's still there, and as you can see, we have sort of that repeating pattern. And we can even raise this a little bit, so we can come over here to array mesh and just go maybe have 12 of these, something like that. Then come to our Z modeler, and I want to add some divisions to this. So insert multiple edge loops, keep polygroup. I don't need different polygroups for this, and then just, whoops, and then just add a few divisions, kind of like that. And scale this up, and then use our taper this down. I don't want to taper on that. Actually, before you use any deformer, make sure you turn off your array mesh, click that deformer, and then turn it back on, because it has a hard time reading that individual model. So you have to turn this on and then turn on array. And now we can start tapering down, bring this down, and I don't want to influence the thickness. I just want to have that particular shape with a different exponent, sort of like that. I'm gonna have some dynamic subdivisions. We're going to dynamic subdivision, and actually not dynamic. I want to crease this first. I don't know. It looks great. I don't know. I mean, come on. Crease. There we go. Now I want to accept this. I'm going to accept just because I want to see if it doesn't conflict with the creasing menu, and then just go over here to bend curve and start pushing and pulling and creating that shape that we want, sort of like that, right? Imagine something like that as a brazier thing. Then obviously, as you get this, obviously this is too much. Let me just go for 3 for now. And this doesn't matter if it's looking great or not, because we can sculpt this as we go. So we have 3 of them, right? And as we have 3 of them, we have also that little piece over there, which help with the concept. Let me see. All right, there we go. So then we can make some trims over here. We can use our topology brush over here. So let me first and foremost go to our dynamic and apply this, and I want to go to my topology brush, and I want to do that over here. Or actually, I want to go to Z modeler. I might do that in one of these little pieces. Yeah, but this is not a good representation of that. Let me just try something. I'm gonna go to this edge before we apply the dynamics. Actually, I want to go to this edge, and I want to inset edge loop partial, and I want to inset, yeah, that's fine. So I want to do that. Whoops. I want to go default equidistant. I want a legacy. Whoops. Let's see if this works. Sort of. It's not really what I wanted, but it's fine. We could also just apply this, delete lower, and then go with our slice curve. Press and hold Control Shift and tap and hold spacebar, and we get this B radius thing. And we could have something like that, maybe smaller brush size, something like that. That's cool. And now we want to grab that little section and reverse, and then I want to go subtool, split, hidden, and then Control Z, because I don't want that in my final piece. All I want is to have that copy geometry over there. And as we have this little piece, which we could use to frame this entire thing, we are gonna Z-remesh this. So obviously this already has a pretty clean geometry, but it's kind of tilted a little bit and whatnot, so I might want to go down to geometry, ZRemesher, and same, keep groups just in case I want to smooth out this for like, this is basically a polish by groups, right? Like smoothing groups. So adaptive size I want like 10, at least for the first, I said 10, not 1. 10 for the first one, first try. And let's do ZRemesher. There we go. Actually, I don't want to smooth groups. Let's try this. All right, now I want to go half, adaptive size down to 0, and keep going half, half. And I think that is fine for now. And what we do want now is we want to go Z modeler. I want to Q mesh this, all polygons. I don't know why is this, there's an artifact with my, let me just turn off the grid. That is weird. Some weird artifacts going on right here. So let me just Q mesh this a little bit. And then if I want, I could use thickness as well, but I want to have that control. I want to go insert single edge loop, and I want to insert an edge loop right about there. And then I want to go over here, I want to inset, and I want to inset polygroup island, and just inset that like so. And then I could just come over here and alt tap to delete, and then I want to crease PG. Crease PG is crease polygroup. That means if I turn on dynamic, obviously without thickness, this is what you'd get. That little shape over there. Right? Then obviously this is, you know, not working because we want half, or maybe not, maybe we want to go over and repeat this. Maybe we can do, this could be 4, repeat it 4 times. I come over here, do 4. Then you have something like this. And then over here, we just want array, and I want to rotate this 360. It's the pivot. Okay. Yeah. Should rotate. Right, 180, because it's just 2 repeats. So there we go. Now we have that shit. And then we can go over here. That sheet over there is gonna be is gonna reuse that trim sheet. So we don't want this to be low poly, right? We want this to be, whoops. We don't want this to be high poly, I'm sorry. We want this to be as low poly as possible, because we're gonna just apply a trim sheet. And we're gonna, there are people that basically model this on the flat, like sheets, right? And then as we wrap, we model it on the flat, we have the trim sheet, we can do, I think that undo history is temp file. Is it normal for undo history to get erased? Yeah, that depends on your memory. If you don't have a lot of memory, a lot of RAM, a lot of disk space maybe, or maybe the file gets too big, there's obviously under preferences we have mem. Where is mem? There it is, mem. And we can say, okay, how many undos does this is the minimum undo count. So obviously when it deletes, it retains like 4 undos for the whole tool. That's a tool setting, not a subtool. So that means that if you have a single subtool in a tool and that happens, it will retain the last 4, at least the last 4 undos. So then we have also the Sculptors Pro, but we also have this. If you really want to delete your undo after you finish up a session, you can come over here to undo history and skip loading. And the next time you open up ZBrush and you open up a project or something, you can open it up right now, or just turn off enable saving and then save, and it won't save undo history. So your file size is going to get smaller. And then obviously, as you load it, you have new undo history that you're going to, you know, add to it once we start, you know, keep sculpting. So I usually keep this on just for the sake of it. Optimize is always a good idea to optimize the files, because otherwise they can get, you know, pretty big pretty soon. So we have that sheet over there, and then we need another one over here. I mean, we could keep sculpting. So the idea is this would be our high poly, let's say. Imagine this could be using a trim sheet, or maybe not. Maybe I can sculpt that by hand. I mean, depends. Like, this is already, like, if you imagine the UVs on this would already be pretty close to fitting an entire 0 to 1 square, right? And that is because it's not only the size of the model, but it's also the amount of models that you're trying to pack into a single UV map, right? Into a single texture map, or a single texture set, right? So as we have this, then we could have a variation of that leg, just that leg, and then obviously we could maybe have this be a little smaller. I feel like that is just too big. Turn this off. Why are those polygroups? I don't like that. There we go. Like that. That was when I started using Sculptris Pro, sometimes it messes up your polygroups, but that's absolutely fine when you're just concepting out ideas. So I want to do something like this. Also, another good practice is to lock size as well, because if we start changing this, oh, this is actually not changing. Yeah, because we're not moving, so we're rotating. Rotation is fine. But if we decided to start offsetting the array and we didn't have lock size, and then we change the size of it, obviously it's going to look at that gap between the objects. So if you lock the size, they're going to clip if we start going like that, right? We don't lock the size, and then if we had an offset and not just a rotate, it would try to retain that gap between the objects, right? So let's lock this size, and this is going to be our gap, right? So as we do this or whatever, then obviously this is gonna be a little different. Let me just go like that. Yeah, this looks better. It's just smaller. It looked like too overwhelming. We wanna focus on the actual flames and all of that. We don't want to detract that attention. So maybe we want something like this. Then I want to make this look like it's kind of hard surface. So we gonna go H polish, and the thing is about array mesh is that you can just go like that, maybe do some dem standard. Damn standard. Oh, that Windows ink. Looks like a weird frog thing. I don't know what this looks like. It's just, again, not a concept artist. We want to go and emphasize with Alt key, emphasize some shapes. Emphasize that as well. We want to also primarily emphasize that transition to that plateau over there, right? So we want to go maybe like that. Maybe we want to keep pushing those polys. Smooth that out a little bit. We don't need that. Then we want to do this. Oh, there we go. I don't know, still looks weird to me. Just planning out that shape over there. Maybe I want to get rid of that weirdness over there. Actually, I can just do this and Dynamesh everything together. I don't know what happened over here, but for some reason Dynamesh is not projecting. Is it? No. Ah, there you go. Maybe it was the array. Maybe this is looking too wide for my taste. Just to look. Know why this looks like kind of a weird dinosaur shape. It's because of this little fin over there, which we don't need. That. This is looking so weird. I don't know what I'm doing. We could easily use one of those other assets. Let me just load a tool. Skulls. Let me just look at that and maybe keep everything consistent. Links for this gotta go up the stream. Thank you for stopping by, man. Yeah, if you have any questions, again, I'm gonna do a shameless plug. I mean, it's not shameless, it's my stream. So if I go over here, I'm gonna send you guys the links to my socials. If it was going so well. There we go again. It's loading the tool. Yeah, I'm gonna use that idea. These shapes in a sense, because I want to keep everything kind of consistent, right? So maybe I'm gonna use this one, but you know, it's just, it looks too Doom. Not that that's a bad thing. I love Doom. Doom is probably one of my favorite games of all time. So I don't know what is going on, guys. To be honest, I didn't click anything. It just did this. I don't know. So today is just, it's trying to annoy me. Let me see. So I close this, close my texturing software. I don't need any of this right now. Okay, so if we go over here, what was I doing? I remember. Okay. Sorry, that's just distracting. So I'm gonna link you guys, share this link, and you guys have a Discord server over there. You also have, you know, ZBrush live streams, my ZBrush live streams, ZBrush Central. Then you obviously have my socials, and then you have like an article, a bunch of articles from the rookies at maxon.net as well. And if you guys wanna just have any questions or whatever, just send them over to my Discord server, and eventually I can answer that, and maybe someone from the community will answer. Well, it depends, but if not, I will answer that. I'll try to answer on stream if you guys are comfortable with that. I mean, if you guys want to share files as well, that's fine. I mean, I'm talking review, not for, and that obviously I will not show on stream, but we could do, I mean, I could do that and then just share it on the server, so that's fine. Right. I don't even know why I was saying that. It's just that whole like cutting off thing with the camera just distracts me a lot. So I'm gonna take this actually, and I'm gonna bring it here. You see how tiny that is actually? I don't know why that got so tiny. I don't know. Might need to re-import this again for the next stream. So we're ramping up. We're coming to the end of the year. We're ramping up on, piling up on work at Maxon, so I can't promise that I'll stream next week. Eventually next month I'll schedule 2 streams instead of just 1. That would be a start, right? So 2 streams a month. and then eventually we can come back, ease in back to our regular schedule last year, which was once a week, every 2 weeks maybe, on busier times. You know, I was freelancing last year, so it was easier for me to just, you know, push around schedules, and now it's a little different. So let me just go back here and import that so you can see what I mean when I say the scale isn't right. So I don't know if you can see that skull. Of course you can't, because it's huge. Oh no, it's big. It's small, actually. Did the actually is rather small. All right, works for me. So I can just bring it over there, and then just scale it down, and then we can have that as sort of a reference. I actually prefer the simpleness of that design, that shape, just some curves and that's it. This is just too noisy. It's too Doom again to make sense. So maybe I'll just ditch that idea. Leave it there, just because. Let's push this out of the way. Over here. Dynamics turned off. There it is. This is why. There we go. No, this isn't why, but whatever. Go Dynamesh, higher resolution. Actually, much higher resolution. Yeah, this is just not, I don't know why this is happening. I mean, every time I import, it's related to the size for sure. There's a size slider over here that I need to rework. Usually when I import using the FBX importer, it gets the scale from the original scene, which is what you would want if you're doing game environments, right? Because you want to set up your scene scale right from the start, and that eventually would make your scene consistent. There we go. We have that. And then we can go damn standard. Damn standard. Go like that. Let me just go over here to stroke. Under lazy mouse, lazy radius. Do the same thing over here. Maybe I want to do that like the opposite. Come on, why did it decide to autosave now? Any day now, ZBrush. It's a big file, though. To be fair, it is a big file. And now that I imported those skulls, it was a big file already. Now it's even bigger, because it got more tools and all of that. And it looks like it's gonna crash, but it isn't. Trust me. If you just leave it, and now it crashed. And there we go. There we go. It's good to know that ZBrush still has my back. So let's do this. Let's keep going. I want to do maybe that, and then have that be its own kind of like separate panel. Like that. Obviously we want to start polishing up this, I mean, that ideally would be done with dynamic, but for some reason scale is not correct. I'm just tapping Alt as I'm doing this, so it raises the surface as well. You don't want to just, without Alt, it would just make this like kind of, you know, you see how it's dipping in? So you just press and then tap Alt, keep tapping like super fast as you're drawing. So it's gonna give you that kind of like perfectly smooth, and then just do the gesture of that shape. This is how you do something that would look organic yet hard surface at the same time. So it'd be something like that, for example. This isn't fine if we don't tap Alt for now, and then go over there and start tapping. Just smooth out that transition over there. Start going around that shape. That shape over there as well. This is not looking great, this bottom part, so just go and see if I can. And I think it's also because, let's turn on AccuCurve and point this out a little bit. This is just pushing some of these points, and I want to push these down like so. Push this like that. I want them to make like a point, come to a point. That's what AccuCurve does. So obviously I wasn't looking from the side, which is a big mistake. And then we wanna, whoops, something went bananas with my, I mean, everything's just going haywire today. I don't know what is going on. I want to change this. There we go. The music just suddenly started playing from my phone. I don't know what's going on, guys. I have no clue. I'm not IT, and I haven't tried turning it off and on again. Maybe that's the problem. I have to turn it off and on again, and then we can eventually start our stream properly, right? So let me just see if I can shape this differently. Yeah, there we go. So what I usually do is I do this and then I go across it if I want to make a form. Be something like that. Be something like this. Be something like that. I don't know. Again. Then we can start, you know, doing the hard surface aspect of it. Just go and push. Looks like a bird. I don't know if that was what I wanted. Maybe not. Probably not. I'm just, again, not a concept artist. Flip curve. Whoops, a daisy. That is very, very strange. Okay. So work like that. There we go. There's a symmetry. Making it go crazy. So maybe I can do snake hook. Yes, I don't care about that message because it refers to snake hook is a good move tool sometimes. Now this does look like a bird or something. I don't know. The point is you'd wanna simplify a lot of these shapes, right? So I want to do that. And this doesn't look good. Then it's a balance, right, between making sense and looking good, right? I mean, I'm already spending too much time over here. I wanted to show a bunch of other stuff that I'm not probably going to show now because it's 7:30 and we were supposed to go until 7:30. But I mean, I'm gonna do these stairs as like separate steps, and I'm just gonna start with the whole like curve thingy. I'm gonna delete all of these meshes. Let me just go over here under geometry size. Check that size, 3.25. Check over here. You see it's visibly smaller. Yep, way smaller. So I'm gonna delete this for now. It's confusing my brain. Delete all and re-import everything back. Don't worry, don't panic. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start doing that Tilable texture, and we're gonna end it there. So a lot of you guys know this is what I do for fun. I just do Tilable textures, and you know, that's what I do in ZBrush. It's one of my favorite things. One of the methods that we could come up, first of all, let me just import that secondary set that I had, which is over here, source images under tilables, not tilables, scenes, kit, cave elements. Yes, okay. There we go. You can see this is already, well, it's the same kind of size. So these are the pieces that are going to be like on the wall or something, like the cave walls, right? So I want to apply some sort of like Tilable texture to this. I want to make sure that that those textures are Tilable, but not just because of that, because this is actually way bigger than a single tile. This is a lot bigger. I mean, if you look at that little guy over there, that's half the texture in terms of height, and this is way bigger, right? So this is at least like 4 times that little guy. So it's at least 2 textures, 2 4K textures in terms of tiling, right? So we need to make a texture, and to do that, I usually, if I'm doing like organic stuff, I usually go and use the old school like wrap mode. So if I go to plane 3D, I start with a plane 3D always, just because it is perfectly fitting the grid sort of format. Let's say it's a perfect size, right? It's 1 to 1 to 1. So let me just make Polymesh 3D. This doesn't matter if it's, you know, a lot of polygons or not. We're going to use it anyway. And what I can do now, let me just start by renaming, because I feel like I neglect that a lot of the times. I shouldn't. So if I go over here and I do a cave wall, and I'm going to call this high, and we can duplicate this, and I'm going to call this low. This is going to be my baking plane, so I don't touch that. The high, however, I want to scale it up ever so slightly, like 0.1. And here's the reason why. The reason why is quite simple. It's because wrap mode uses the grid, let's say, or the world space coordinates. If they match exactly 1 square, wrap mode is gonna when you do a stroke over here, it's going to do a stroke over there, and it's going to distort the edges of our plane. So your baking plane will no longer match. Here's an example. So if I go and use the standard brush, for example, go to brush under curve, I think. Yeah, wrap mode, turn on wrap mode. Let me just divide this a couple of times without smooth. So divide this a couple of times like that. If I start sculpting and I go over, this is what happens with wrap mode, right? So if you start sculpting a lot, you can already see what's going on over there. It's distorting that silhouette, which is fine if you duplicate this. So one of the things you want to do if you want to test out your tiling texture thing, if it's tiling or not, you want to set up your array mesh right away. So I set up array, I lock position and I lock size. So now I make sure and my pivot is right there. So when I do this, for example, X2, this plane is the second like array mesh plane is right next to it, and it's perfectly matching because it's moving 2 units, right? So if you go, let's see, let's append a new one, and I'm gonna do the opposite. I'm gonna go -8. Now it's perfectly tiling. So the difference is if we didn't do the whole like plane scaling thing, this is what would happen. You start sculpting, it starts distorting. It should start distorting. Whoops, maybe that's because it's visible. If the other plane is visible and you're, oh, actually, never mind. It doesn't work. So this is what would happen. But the thing is, it is distorting on that side as well. So if you use array mesh, it's matches. So I usually sculpt with array mesh turned on, right? And then you make sure you're sure that everything that you're sculpting is actually tiling, right? So now this is the actual mesh. Obviously, when you bake, because your plane, your other plane is still gonna bake that, you don't bake just a single plane, right? You would eventually apply your array mesh, right? So I'm gonna divide this a couple of more times, and I actually don't want that sculpt. I want to sculpt from top to bottom, and I want to do like very broad and simple strokes, kind of. Oh, come on, kind of like that. Do that. I'm just doing that little flow because I want that cave wall to be going up and down. I want that cave wall, like the base shape should be something very, very simple, very loose. Kind of looks like cloth or something. Turn this on, and actually I want to append a new one, and I want to do the same thing, but for the bottom, I'm going to go 4. Turn off the floor, and you can see how it's tiling. Really looks like a drapery or something. Then I want to append another one, and I want to go the opposite way, -8. So now we can actually sculpt on the tiling texture. Let me just go clay, go crazy with this clay. Oh, actually, don't forget, wrap mode is a setting for each brush, so you have to do this every time you change it to another brush, or just save it as the default if you feel like that's the way you're going to use most brushes for texturing. All right, there we go. I just use these. I use the orb cracks a lot, so I can start planning out again. Wrap mode. And what I usually do when I'm planning out a tileable texture is I go over here to surface noise, and I just apply one of these from Megascans, and as I apply, I get a picture of a flow, right? And I can just sculpt on top of that without just applying the noise, and that's it, because otherwise why not just use that texture, right? So what I do is I go over here to Megascans library, go to downloaded surface, and I want to use, I have imperfections, I have the metal, I have rocks. I thought I had rocks somewhere. There it is. Rock cliff. Nope, not that one. I change this to like large icons. Rock cliff, maybe this one. Nope, it's not it. I think it was called rock jagged. Let me think. No. Maybe this. Nope. Still not. Rock mossy. Maybe we could use this. So I could come over here, use this EXR. And let me just up this alpha scale and increase the strength. Alpha scale should be set at 1. No basic noise, strength. And this is technically your. So this noise scale could be set to 3. And we don't want this to be relative. Let's keep this at 1. And we want to mix some basic noise. But I want to minimize, and then I want to tweak that curve over there. So I need to have something like that. Up that scale. Actually, I want the maximum or multiply. Yeah, maybe multiply. So it'd be something like that. And then obviously I'm not going to apply this noise because I don't want just a flat texture over there. So I can start, what I can start to do is actually go like that. Or we could use spotlight as well to just, we could also just use mask by noise and then just go be to standard and go like turn on a wrap mode and then just raise the brush size and go. Let me just blur this texture a little bit and then just do this ever so slightly. And now we can come over here with our cracks, orb cracks. Let's start cracking it. I know, bad jokes. Let's do that. Then I want to do the same kind of design over there. I want to make sure that these are overlapping. We could use the dam standard as well, because we're just designing this. Press 1 key to repeat. Just the Alt. Then obviously we'd have to go over with our clay brushes once again. And we can start seeing some of this come together slowly, but you can see that those apparently random strokes I did in the beginning were not so random at all. It just starts coming together and starts to look like something eventually. I don't want any like super straight lines. That's not how it works in nature. Uh-oh, I don't have rep mode. Yep, it's no longer tilable. I have to maintain that tilableness. Looks like bark at the moment. it won't at the end. So let's just do cracks, and let's keep sculpting like that, going like this. I want to do like just some patterns over there, and then we could run, let me see if this works though. We could run a clay polish. Does it work? Nope. Clay polish does it to the edges. Or we could mask. If you go to mask, where is masking? Let's go to mask border, and then I'm gonna grow that mask a little bit, and now I'm gonna clay polish. There we go. Now we have a better kinda just run through this with our standard brush with wrap mode. Yep, sure you have wrap mode. So we smooth it out and keep on sculpting. So, but you see what I'm doing, right? I'm just sculpting in these shapes, making sure that the repeatedness of that is not too obvious, even though we're never gonna be able to get away with something that's like completely like, you'd notice the repetition at a certain point, especially if you repeat it a lot like this. The more you repeat it, the more obvious. Like I can see there that is not like, that is a thing that you see repeated over and over and over again. So I don't want that. So I can just come over here with the clay build-up brush and just start, you know, start doing like some drastic kind of shape design. One other thing that you can do, and this is something I found really, really cool, is we could just append another object, like a cube, for example. Then you can see the cube matches that precisely. And let me just go like that. I don't need this to be super crazy detailed. Let's just Dynamesh this, put this over here on the top, duplicate that, put it on the bottom. And what I am gonna do is I am going to collide something against my texture. So for example, if I want striations or something over there, what I could do is I could come over here, I could paint a mask like so, paint another mask like so, and I want to go down into, where is it? Geometry, nope. Where is Slime Bridge? There it is, Slime Bridge. If I turn on Slime Bridge, it's gonna give me all these crazy, you know, slimes. So I want to up this tension to 100%. So now we have that, right? And if we want some randomness to it, that's fine. Just lower this until like 90. And then just think about this in a 2D, a purely 2D sense, right? So I want to have less bridges and I want to have less capillaries, but I want to keep those branches. So if I do this now, okay, maybe I want that mask to be over there. Yeah, so something like this, right? Let's imagine you have something like this. Maybe you want to tilt this. You can tilt this like so, right? Or maybe not. Maybe that's fine. So what we want to do now is I want to select all of those little capillary things and go Control-Shift-Q for the polygroups. And then I want to split hidden like that. So I want to go down and just split hidden. And as I'm doing this, I want to use this, and I'm going to close holes on that subtool. So geometry, modify topology, close holes. Like that. And I want to collide against that object. So I can go crazy. I can use transpose cloth and just combine a bunch of features like this, like go transpose cloth. Let me dock in my dynamics over here on the side. I'm gonna go dynamics. I don't want any gravity, but I want a collision volume. I want it to detect that collision volume. Actually, I don't want those two bars. They're just gonna get in the way. Recalculate that collision. And I don't need that much inflation. Maybe 0.1 or something. Because I want them to actually touch that. So if I now just push this against that wall, it doesn't have thickness. This would work if it had thickness. I don't know if it works on a plane though. Yep, doesn't work on a plane. Let's see. Or maybe the points. It has too many points. I can just go and quickly ZBrush this. Let me go and ZBrush. Keep groups, same. Smooth groups, yeah, sure. Let's do a same first. There we go, and now half. There we go, half again. Adaptive size down to 0. I don't want to smooth that much. It has a lot of polygroups. Maybe I can do auto groups first. Let me run on auto groups. There you go. And now I can ZBrush. Okay, there's an error. Go to mesh integrity, fix mesh. There you go. And now it works. There we go. All right, maybe this works. Maybe I don't want to risk it, so I'm gonna go and do it in half again. Just cut it in half in terms of poly count. There we go. So now that we have this, I can go like that and then just collide. Does it work? Nope, it has half thickness, basically. So what I can do is I can duplicate this, and this one I'm gonna close holes. I'm just gonna go. Actually, I can mask the border of this. I delete lower. Go to masking, mask by feature border. Invert that, control and drag that. Did it extrude anything? No. Let's see. There it is. And now I can close holes. I can go geometry, modify topology, close holes. There we go. And now if I recalculate this volume again, select that subtool, recalculate that volume. Obviously, I don't want this plane to be included in that calculation. Recalculate, and then if I push, it should. There we go. This is giving me like weird vine. It looks like vines, right? If we don't want that, here's a cool thing that we could do. Let's say you're just looking for like doing rock striations or something like that, right? And then go over here and then just push it back. And what you can do now is you can run a dynamic subdivision on this. Go down to geometry, dynamic subdivision with thickness, and you can offset this to 100. Maybe you don't want that much thickness, like that. And now we can make this a live boolean, and it's giving you that pattern over there. Maybe it's still because it has some inflate over there. Maybe we don't want that inflate, just do recalc. And we could do the cloth simulation while it's doing live booleans, and you can see what it's doing. It's doing that rock kind of like erosion effect, right? Oh, look, it's Batul and Brenda calling me from the balcony. Hi, Batul. Hi, Brenda. How you guys doing? These are people from the office. Yeah, Slime Bridge is an underrated feature. I feel like a lot of the stuff that you can come up with, this is just a cool pattern-ish kind of look, right? But just imagine, like, because now what I can do is I could come over here and I can use this on this. Obviously, I would use this with this, right? So I would have this as, let's say, a separate start group or an actual folder. I can do new folder. I can call this bool and then just move this down over there. And then obviously we can still up the thickness. No, that's too much. That's just too much. But we can inflate this locally. Let me just inflate that a little bit. Inflate that. Because I feel like some areas are just, oh, but it has thickness. Okay, let me turn off dynamic and inflate. Yeah, I can just draw using our inflate brush technically. Dynamic, I want to do smooth subdivisions. So I can pick and choose where I want that sort of erosion effect to go, right? Using Slime Bridge. So if I go like over the top with this, obviously this is not clean, right? You would have to sculpt on top of that. But then again, you have Sculptors Pro, so you can use the live boolean mesh and then just with Sculptors Pro, just clean that up and make it sharp, right? So let's say I have this kind of like pattern going over here. I don't want it to touch that edge over there because again, I want this to remain tilable. So I don't want to touch that edge. And then just keep on smoothing and then just using your inflate brush just to create some of these striations. And then if you live boolean this, if you go over to this gear and do boolean, maybe let me do it with dynamic. Do I want to do it with dynamic? Definitely not. I just want this like that. So I want to go and do boolean folder. It's going to run the boolean and hopefully not crash. Well, we got food. They got food. Not only Brenda and Batul are waiting for you. Exciting, yeah. What? Okay. They got food. Just wait on my live boolean result. I'll be right there, Brenda and Batul. So now we got polygroups for this. So what we can do is we can either go to our contrast brush and just do this, or we can start actually sculpting. So if I go and use my mallet fast brush, my mallet fast 2, which I have it loaded up on ZBrush, but it's usually up here in the light box. The brush on mallet brushes, where's the, oh, Jesus, where's the mallet brushes? There you go. These two, mallet fast 2. And so I want to go over to stroke and turn on Sculptors Pro. And now I want to maybe with a higher setting or lower setting actually on the subdivide size, maybe 0.75. And I can pick this and I can start complementing that sculpt with striations. So the design is made with some randomness by using dynamics, right, with Slime Bridge to create that idea of erosion, right? But then, and remember, I'm sculpting on this, not on the actual plane, because at the end of the day, then what I would do is go and put this behind the high poly, not the high poly. Well, yes, the high poly, which is over there, right? And I would want to project this, right? So I would want to go over here to my, basically my plane, and go and project, not project history. In this case, it's just project all. But I want to mask everything else. So I want to mask the border first and foremost, and then I want to grow that mask a little bit, and now I want to project. So now we have that in our plane. Obviously, we don't have that much geometry, so maybe we want to divide a couple of more times, like up to 1,000,000 or something, and then just mask by feature, grow mask. Whoops, not grow all, just grow mask. Invert that, shrink mask a little bit, invert that, and grow it. And now I want to project again, now with more geometry. So project all, and there we go. And we have our plane, still tileable. And we can go and do mesh and compose the subdivisions. So we need to turn off Sculptors Pro, which is already turned off. And we want to turn on wrap mode again, especially with our smooth brush, because we don't want to smooth just certain areas. So we can come over here, and with our smooth brush with the higher intensity, we can start carving out those shapes. Obviously now it gets a little laggy because it's, you know, it's higher poly, it has like array mesh turned on. You have to keep that in mind. And I'm just carving in those shapes to make that randomness part of my sculpt, right? We can go over there, and it goes to the other side, as you can see. Maybe that was too much. Maybe I want to do something like that. And then obviously over here we need to start carving in. And then obviously we need to start smoothing out that part over there that got, you know, it's a little, it looks weird because of the projection, but it is what it is. So obviously now we have some patterns repeating, some weird repetition over there, but we can easily just cover it up with mod fast. We can also just come here, if we get some stretching, we can just morph and then project again, right? And then we have our, eventually we'll get our tiling textures. Once you're done, this is your high poly plane, and you still have that low poly, which kind of matches. Obviously you have that issue over there, which means you need to apply your array mesh. So depending on your machine, this workflow could get pretty heavy pretty soon, because we're talking an array mesh with 3 stages, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, with 4 stages. So it's basically, this is 1 million, so it's 2 million, then it's 4 million, then it's 4 million, 8 million, and then it's 16 million polygons for your high poly. Obviously you don't need every tile, you just need the tiles around this one, and then you bake on top of that. You make sure it's tileable, right? And after you do that, you do the same workflow that I showed at the beginning of the stream, but with these planes, which is going to be the cave walls and the modular cave wall pieces. And they would displace, and they would have like specific shapes. And if you want, for example, let's say you have like 2 rock meshes in your environment, they're kind of like on the ceiling or whatever, but they're not connected. And you're like, okay, I want something that connects these 2 rocks. So what you could do is bring those 2 rocks into any DCC of your choice, or even ZBrush. You can bring those 2 rocks as they are in the game level, and then just use a plane with dynamics, just push it against those rocks, and the plane will conform to the shape, right? And then just clip the edges inside the rocks and use a tileable texture to displace that. So you get those 2 rocks connected with a rock pattern without having to sculpt that transition, let's say, by hand. So it's easier to just show you. I'm not gonna show you now because it's rather late over here, but it is something I am gonna do, and then I'm gonna showcase that workflow over here. I mean, you guys know me. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are interested in characters. I'm not a character artist. I do appreciate character arts, and I know my anatomy, but I am gonna be the lone wolf that is an environment artist. You know what I mean? I am gonna be that guy. So, I mean, you guys just let me know if you want me to specifically showcase anything that you guys, any questions you guys might have, just ask away on the Discords. I mean, if you look at the chat, it's there, all my links. So you have my Discord server, you have Instagram, you have LinkedIn, you have whatever you want. So there's no excuse if you guys don't wanna, if you guys don't feel like, if you guys feel like you want to ask any questions, there's no excuse, right? So you guys can just ping me. I'll promise I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. So yeah, again, reiterating, you have a Maxon 1 plus Substance 2D package, which you can get. This is something this is the second time I'm mentioning this, because you guys know me. I use Substance a lot with ZBrush, right? I use ZBrush with Substance all the time, especially as a games artist. And then again, I'm gonna push for this, use and post on ZBrush Central. You can see a ton of crazy work over here, and this is the hub of the ZBrush community. So go over there and just post it. Post your artwork, post your sketches, post your prints, your miniatures, your game characters, your environment art, whatever it is, just post it. And now, as we now have an ongoing staff picks every week, right? All right, guys, I'm gonna drop out of the mission. I'm gonna call it a day. And yeah, Brenda is saying food time is over. I mean, I'm not that hungry. I don't know why they're trying to convince me with food, because it's like I'm not that hungry. But oh well, too late for what? All right, guys, I'll see you hopefully soon. And again, just ping me if you have any questions. And I am out. Bye-bye. See ya.